Welcome to the One Hand at a Time podcast. I'm your host, Chris Welton. And today I have another incredible guest, someone who I consider a friend, someone who helped me personally in the company I was part of navigate some major turbulence during COVID. And just you really learn a lot about people when the odds are stacked against you and they're willing to give you a helping hand, and especially when that hand has money in it. So we'll break that down a little bit deeper as we get into it. But welcome to the call, my friend Chris Vinson.
Thank you, Chris. I just have found lately that I have just become surrounded with more Chris's in my life. I've never had a ton of Chris's in my life, and now I've got all these Chris's in my life. And I might have to go back to my nickname, which was Vinny in high school. My nickname was Vinny. But anyways, it's my honor to be on this call with you today, and just to be able to talk it out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, there's just been a lot of interesting things happening in business. I've got a lot of questions for you on that side of it. And then I want to get into some family too, because I know when you operate at a super high level, you've been able to keep the family intact, which is a great thing, right? You know, we don't see that as much. And I happen to know your daughter very well. She was one of my biggest advocates during the COVID times. I think I talked to her probably then almost as much as I talked to my wife. I talked to Shelby like every morning. We had a set call. We do the call. We run the pipeline. Sometimes it was 7 days a week. So that says a lot about you as a leader and also as a parent, because obviously she caught those things from you along the way, and probably Shalise too, right? Shalise, your wife. I'm sure she was instrumental in that as well. But I'm just curious, like right now with everything that's going on in the market, and just a lot of uncertainty ahead, how are you the calm in the storm with Windsor, and then also with everybody that you're working with on the broker side?
You know, I would say in 2022, for me personally, I felt like the storm hit me harder than 23 or even 24. Maybe that's just the cycle of wholesale. Maybe that's just like, the change. And I remember going through that change, like personally saying, oh, I'm not going to be able to save as much per month. Should I make lifestyle changes to be able to gear towards this storm? It's like literally, I mean, I know you're in Florida and I'm in South Dakota, so hurricanes are not a thing up here. But like I was preparing for what the storm was going to look like. And to me, emotionally, 22 towards the end was probably the hardest. And I think it was this. I think it was the realization of the change. And once I got past the realization of the change and then moved forward and then continued to strive to figure out how am I going to win the day, it just never really bothered me again. But there was a period of time that it really, really did. I remember in April of 22, we were in Scottsdale and I said, Shalise, we got to go back. I got to get in the office and I've got to be present and really be in there to make some changes and to be able to get prepared. I remember that conversation. And she said, let's do it. And off we went. And that was the change. But that was probably my biggest, like, I've got to get ready for some changes here.
Yep. You know, we obviously had massive years in 2020, 2021. I mean, unprecedented. I mean, just like I'd never seen anything like it. I don't think anybody else ever had. I always felt though what we were doing wasn't sustainable. Did you feel the same way? Like there was just no way it could continue at that rate. But the flip side was I didn't think the brakes would hit as hard and as fast as they did. Like I've had cars with anti-lock brakes for a long time. This did not have anti-lock brakes, brother. This thing hit and it locked up and we slid into a ditch and then we had to figure out a way to get out of it. So I'm just curious, how'd that affect you?
Well, to me, I'm like, I just need more clients. And so once I get to a spot to where I was like, okay, well, how do I gamify this? Because gamifying is going to keep my emotion out. And emotion, no one's ever said, man, how'd you do it? And he goes, oh, I worried. Like I worried and then it all worked. Like I've never heard anyone say that. Like the faster that you can get past worry, the you're actually going to get somewhere. And I'm like, okay, so if we had this many customers and we know it's going to shrink up, then I just need this many customers. And how are we going to do that? And how can we scale to that? And luckily, we were, and we still are, we're new. And so we're continuing to grow, and through brand awareness, through additional clients, through winning fans, just one by one, continuing trying to win. And I'm like, we're going to have to triple in size to be able to do the same amount. And I remember talking to our managers that I'm saying, look, our problems in 2020 and 2021 were, how do we get all these loans done? Our problem in going through that little piece was, how do we continue to get that same amount of loans? And I said, no matter what the market is, there'll always be a problem. It will never be perfect. This is just our new problem. Let's just look at it like that, instead of looking at it like, oh, this market and this and that and rate and da da da. Like, have you paid attention? There are still loans getting done every single day. We just need our piece.
Yeah, I was just actually, right as I was getting off the call before you, I was on with my coach, and my coach is Ben Newman, and Ben and I were working through some stuff, and he really talks a lot about the problem, right? Like, you're either in a problem, coming out of a problem, or there's a problem coming at you. So it's how you react and figure out what that looks like. And I think the fact that you decided to just go to winning the day and not worrying about all the other things you couldn't control was the difference between Chris Vinson being available and not hiding like the other CEOs of people I was selling loans to along the way. Like, literally, like, I couldn't get people on the phone. I literally did an Instagram video. I'm like, all the leaders are missing. We have to need to do like America's Most Wanted for all the leaders. I don't know where they're all at. No one's answering their phones, right? But I really feel that was the difference for you guys, and the personal touch. And what I want to share with the listeners is that, and most of the people that listen know I left the mortgage industry in August of last year, but I'm still in touch with a lot of people who are in the business, and they're some of my clients. I even called Chris last week and said, hey, one of my clients really wants to get some business going with you guys. And I share that because I wouldn't do that with just about anybody else that I was in business with, because what Chris did for us and I won't go into great detail, I'll just let you know that he saved us multiple times during COVID. Multiple times when other investors and lenders turned their backs on us, these big box guys were worried about themselves and not their true clients. Chris kept stepping in and putting his own money in and doing things that were just, my family will be forever grateful to how kind you were along that journey. And I know that BJ and Jason and everybody involved at C&P feel the same. But there had to be some fear in that, right? Like I've always wanted to ask you, like, man, you really put it on the line, dude. Like, there was a lot at risk there.
Well, in simple put, everyone's like, well, what did he do? Well, we're just talking about funding loans is what we're really talking about. But, I think the advantages was, we're a bank. So funding loans and providing that opportunity is something that it's what we do every day. And so you're looking at this and saying, when someone needs something and we can offset what that risk looks like, and we know that it's the right thing to do, and we've checked all of our boxes, on our risk side for us, then let's go do it. Is it traditional? Is it maybe not? Is it done every day? No. Has it happened with other clients? Yeah. We had a big, huge competitor in the warehouse line space get a cyber attack and shut all that down. And brokers were trying to fund loans. Mortgage companies were trying to fund loans. And, they couldn't at that time. And how do we come in and seize that opportunity? I look back and go, that's how you build fans. When you're willing to go a little bit extra without harming your company, but going that little bit extra mile, not like saying it, but actually doing it, you build fans like we all want to do for all your company, right? Anybody listening for their company, there's going to be a realtor, there's going to be a client, there's going to be something out there that you can go a little bit extra over than normal, and then look what happens. Like that is fan building 101 if all the parameters fit. And in this particular case back then, all the parameters fit. It was just like um it was like this it was a no-brainer. And it wasn't that big of a decision at the time because we knew what we were getting ourselves into, and we knew how to do that.
Well, it was big
Right.
for us. I mean, it was massive, right? Like, so you know, you didn't have the scarcity mindset that your competitors had. And a lot of them did. And a lot of them took, like, just made drastic moves that affected the smaller family owned companies like us. And I say smaller, we were still a big boy on that scale, but um relationships will last a lifetime when something happens like
Right.
that. And as the market shifted, everybody came back, right? Everybody was coming back and, hey, Chris, I'm like, no, man, like, why are you sending all your business there? I'm like, here's exactly why I sent all my business there. Remember when you wouldn't call me back? Remember when this, remember when that? Yeah, but those have changed. I said, great. And until Windsor decides not to do business anymore, then that's just how it's going to be. Like, you guys made that decision and you made it easy for me because they said no and you were available to do that. I mean, and I want to share, he didn't do anything outside the box. It was all legitimate, really solid stuff, but it was common sense to the normal business person. And everybody on the big scale got that super scared. Like, they got really scared. The scarcity mindset kicked in. They made really selfish decisions and cost. I mean, I had one investor we were doing a bunch of non-QM stuff with. I won't say the name of it on here because I don't even know if they're in business anymore, but we had 6 deals closing the same day. And that morning they called and said, we're not funding any of those deals. 6 deals, people at the table closing deals. And it was somewhere around $4 million. I mean, that's a big, that was 10% of our business in one day gone for that month. Right. So it was just, it could have been devastating for sure.
Yeah. I said to a client, look, I don't need to be everything to everyone, but I I finally got to a spot to where I'm like, look, this is who we are. Like an artist, they're always like, oh my gosh, you have figured out who you are as an artist. And I think for a long time we had to figure out who we are as a mortgage company, who's our favorite fit, what works well, how do we work good with them, how do they work good with us, and getting super comfortable of who we are was something that, is, during that time and even today, like finally got to the spot where like, okay, well, this is who we are. And we're super comfortable with it. And this is the fans that we want. And not trying to be everything to everyone, because that's not who we are. It's like this, we're a boutique lender who love companies like the company you work for, and just being super comfortable with that. And you knew this back then, but we're headed into that right now where we're not going to sign anybody. We're just like, we're full, and we're super happy with what we have today. And we could be more to each and every company, just like the company that you came from.
Really? So you guys are right there where you're at, not looking to add a bunch more
Well, I
business.
mean, I think once you try, how can you be something to, if you get too many originators and
Yeah.
you're trying to be something to every single person. And we're like, man, we have this many originators today. How do we be something and make an impact in each one of these 17,000 lives when we're not being able to have that relationship like you and Shelby or you and I had? Is that who we are? And we're like, well, no, that's not who we are. Okay, well, then let's just be who we are. And let's be exclusive.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that, there's a tipping point, right? I think Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called The Tipping Point. I think he was the author, and it really talks about companies doing that, doing great customer service. When they get to a certain spot, it's not scalable anymore. So kudos for you to thinking of that. And that's how you're going to create raving fans. And then people are going to do more and more it, business with you, right? You're going to get more and more of a market share. And I mean, what is your, I guess the next thing would be was what's your vision for Windsor over the next 5 years? What do you want that to look like?
Yeah, I mean, what we figured out is that we're not your unique, weird off non QM product. Like that's not us. We're your agency. We're your jumbo. We're your state bond program company. Like that's who we are. So one of the things is that I want every state bond program that's good in the country, and I'm working on 1 to 2 states each month to be able to get that. That is an extreme challenge. A lot of politics. Each state has a different rule. So I'm really, really working towards that piece. And the second thing is to be able to help originators across the country do loans in multiple states without having that license. So like that's the step 2 that regulators really leaned on me. And now I've got the CFPB beside me and agree that what I'm doing is absolutely amazing to be able to help that broker. And because we're a bank, we have a national license. This really fits well. So as we continue to grow, like I couldn't be everything to everyone, and nor do I want to be that, or do I want to be the biggest. I feel like if I could give the broker the best opportunity to perform at the table and look good and continue to be able to give them the tips and tricks to be able to originate more, at the end of the day, like there's almost, Chris, and I think you feel this way being a coach, there's almost more gratification watching an originator go from 2 to 4 or 4 to 8 loans than it is for them to give me the loan. Now, of course, do I want the loan? Sure. That's how I pay the bills. But as far as joy, there's so much joy in being able to help originator be able to double or just get that extra 2 loans to be able to provide for their family. Man, I feel like that's what Windsor's about. Like, how do we help you? And then how do we make you look good?
Well, I hear you saying that and I believe you because I know you. And there's so many people that say that and it's not really what they mean, but I believe you. So I'll share something with you. I had Dave Savage on last week on the podcast. And Dave's one of those guys that has been around the industry for so long and he's still relevant. How many of those people we know from early 2000s aren't relevant anymore, right? Like they just kind of went away. There's only a couple handful of those guys that are still relevant. I think Chris Vinson's on the precipice of doing the same. I think you're going to be one of those guys that's relevant until the time you say, I'm done. I'm going to be in Arizona most of the time. And when it's too hot, I'm going to go back to South Dakota and I'm done. So I applaud you in what you've been able to accomplish from the first time we had a phone call. I think it was like 5 years ago and you were just kind of doing TPO stuff. And Jason's like, you got to talk to my friend. And I think it's amazing what you've been able to create in a short period of time and the importance of you understanding surrounding yourself with the right people. And then also getting rid of the wrong ones. You're really good at that. You're really good at just cutting ties with the wrong people. When it comes to bringing someone else into that family, because that's what Windsor really is. Windsor's a family for sure. What's the barriers of entry? Like, what does it really come down to?
I think forever, a lot of originators think that, I think it's a culture fit. I giggled that the club I belong to in Desert Mountain, this guy the other day bought this property and they wouldn't let him in. And I'm like, why? What do you mean they wouldn't let him in? Like, what? Look, they turned somebody down? And he's like, yeah, they called, they got the references, and I guess his behavior is not good. So not only did they not let him in, but he also, that seller lost out on this potential buyer because he couldn't get into the club. And I'm like, man, well, how cool would it be someday to where, like, if someone is going to remount all of your staff for maybe possibly an error that was on them, would that be a cultural fit for us? And I know this because I know you. And I know you will do anything to protect your staff. Like, yell at me all you want. I can take it. Yell at the staff that is just trying to do their job. It's not fair. And,
Absolutely not. Yeah.
and I mean, look, a lot of it is based on feel too. Like if, if you're a company that wants to do it right, that wants to have high ethics, that are trying to be able to grind out in that, in this business, then I want you. If you're looking for every corner in the world to cut, go somewhere else. And I think, in the beginning, Chris, you're like, man, we got to sign as many as we can. And then you do. And then you realize, what did I just do? Like, why would you work with a realtor that calls you at midnight, but then never gives you any deals? Like, that's not going to last forever, or yells at all of your staff. That's not going to work forever. And finally getting to a spot like saying, whoa, wait, I got to protect my staff. I'll go find the right fit customers. We don't need every customer. And hey, look, I recognize it as more as anyone, the broker out there today, they got tons of choices. And if you want to win, I want to be your partner. If you don't want to do it the right way, go use somebody else.
Yeah. And that, I know that's the difference with you guys. For me, it was always like, if you're a person of high character and you want to become something better, I've got all the tools to help you do that. But the character's got to be high. I don't care if your sales experience is great, little, whatever it is. I know my processes and training and the way I coach people and my keys to implementation to be successful is there, but you got to be a high character individual. I don't need any more low character drama. I've had too many of that in the past. I've hired the top producer, the biggest guy in the market, and realized that he was just not for me. You know what I mean? Not for me. So I love to build those people internally, right? Like bring them in, teach them how to fish, right? And then the next thing you know, they're changing their lives. And that's what you just talked about, 2 to 4 to 8 deals. And the next thing you know, you've got a guy that's operating on a massive level. I had the opportunity 2 weeks ago to spend some time with Sal Frisella, who's the CEO of First Form. So I was in St. Louis at his headquarters a couple weeks ago, and he was talking to me about the culture inside First Form.
Hmm.
Now, those of you who don't know, this is probably the top supplement company in the world. If they're not number one, they're 2 or 3. It started from his brother living on a mattress in the back of a store, making $700 a year selling supplements. Like literally, that's how they started. Their headquarters is 800,000 square feet. They just bought a 500,000 square foot spot next to it, and they're building another 500,000 onto that. So imagine this massive warehouse, but it's all built out nice. They got a 400 person auditorium for meetings. They've got amazing gym, full court basketball court, these nice offices. They got this amazing dining area, just really nice for their staff. But then they have the warehouse on the back. He said, Chris, we have no cleaning crew. I'm like, what? No cleaning crew. Everybody literally picks up after themselves. If they pee on the seat, they wipe the seat off. Yeah. When they wash their hands, they wipe the sink out when they're done. If the toilet paper needs to be changed, they change it. And I witnessed this. I saw the employees in there wipe the sink out when they're done with their hands. I saw an employee changing a roll of toilet paper. I saw another one grab a vacuum out of a closet and sweep up something on the entryway. Like, this is
Pride.
their culture. That's how they do it. How they do one thing's how to do everything. Then, Chris, I walk into the warehouse. There wasn't a piece of paper on the floor. All the cans on the shelves were lined up like somebody had OCD. Like, it was amazing to watch them process 7,000 orders a day. So some of the people I'm coaching, I've been talking to last few days as they're bringing new people on. I'm like, we have to raise our standards for the people we bring on. It starts there. It's going to be hard to change the culture of the people that are there, but we've got to raise the standards. So I'm curious, as you're bringing some people on in a different time, a different challenging market, have you adjusted the standards on what that looks like for your people? Or is that something that you're going to start doing?
Yeah. I mean, Jason even actually reminded myself of the Steve Jobs story just the other day. But, Steve Jobs' dad was super OCD, very attention. And isn't it amazing how much our children, as you are going through this, congratulations, that observe you, pick up what's good, see what's bad. Like they see it and we don't even notice it. And Steve picked up how attention to detail his father was. And one day he asked him to paint the fence. So Steve went out, painted the fence, and came back in super proud. He really spent his time painting it right. And his dad came back out and said, "You didn't finish." He goes, "What do you mean? You didn't paint the inside of the fence." He goes, "Dad, no one's going to see it." He said that famous quote, which later on became part of Apple, which was, "But we will." And I was thinking about that this whole time, because when Steve was rolling out the Macintosh, by the way, I asked 4 people in their 20s what the Macintosh was. Chris, no one knew.
I'm sure they didn't.
No one knew what it was. He says, "Let's make the most amazing computer, but inside I want it to be a masterpiece. In fact, I want the person who ever builds it to sign it like it's a piece of art. And I want the inside to be this masterpiece." And eventually someone asked, "Well, why would we care? No one's going to be in the inside of it." And he said, "But we will. We will see it." And when I'm thinking about your story in that company, isn't it the exact truth? Like, if we fix the inside, how great are we on the outside? And that company is great on the inside. And for me, do I have drama every once in a while? Do I have a problem every once in a while? Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like the faster we head into that problem and don't ignore it, the better it is for our culture. But we still have problems. But I'm like, let's take pride. That desk space, let's take pride. Our office space, our front way, would you walk by the piece of garbage or would you pick it up? Like, how much better are you going to be in taking care of the Windsor clients if you're willing to take care of the space that we work in? And then to hear you talk about that supplement company, I guarantee you part of his secret of his growth is that he takes care of the inside just as much as he takes care of the out.
Yeah, and so they have a library too. I'm going to tell you this: they have a library, and they only have 8 books in the library. 8 books, that's it. And he hires people and brings them in, and he says, "If you'll read these 8 books, come to my office as the CEO, and each time you read one, do an oral book report on that book. When you're done, I'm going to increase your salary. I'm going to increase your hourly rate." And they're all culture-based books. What a great idea.
Great idea.
He starts them a little bit lower than where they would be at, brings them in, and they read these books. Kids, and these are entry-level employees, most of them. Some of them may have never read a book, but now they're reading all these different books, right? And it was amazing to hear that. I'm like, and I look in the library, yep, there's just 8 books. That's all it's in there. Maybe several copies of 8 books.
Wow.
And that's it.
That's cool.
Yeah. And when I started selling cars when I was 19 years old, I had a guy named Darren Hodges pull me aside and he said, "Let me tell you something, kid." Because I did my first worksheet and I didn't have all the stuff written on it right. And,
the old Foursquare? Did you do the old Foursquare?
Oh, we just used Foursquare, of course. Oh yeah, we did Foursquare. But he gives me the worksheet and he says, "Look, you have to sign your name at the bottom here when you start your deal, right?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Would you sign your name on a pile of shit?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Well, that's what that looks like." He said, "You need to make sure every line's filled out, your VIN number, everything's complete, and you sign it." And ever since then, that's how I trained my people when I ran dealerships and everything else. Because notorious salespeople just put the guy's name on it and want to get numbers. No, we fill it all out entirely. And that's, again, how you do one thing's how you do everything. And that's the same way I've always taught it when I've trained salespeople is, you're signing off on this. This is a work of art by you. This is you're signing this, saying this, I did this right. And I think that's incredible to talk about that. Same with the Apple piece. But can we talk about family real quick? I mean, I know that I love Shelby, and I know she's getting married here real soon. And she's great. We had such great conversations over the years. I miss talking to her. I need to reach out to her and just touch base. But how you've been able to just grow a massive company and make sure you don't lose sight of the foundation, which is your family. Because without my wife, none of this would be possible. I wouldn't have had the courage to walk away from a very good job to go all in on myself. and I feel that you have that same support. So I'm just curious how you've been able to navigate that.
Well, I will say that probably Shalice. But a little bit of history. I grew up in a family business, so I worked for my mom and dad all the way through high school. And I was shocked that both my kids wanted to be in the mortgage business. I can't believe it. Chris Shelby's going on 7 years, I think 8 years. She's completed 7 in the mortgage business. One is time. Like the separation of work and family is something that I've got to constantly concentrate on, because it's unfair. Like we'll talk mortgage shop at supper, like we're all together and we're talking mortgage shop, and my wife's like, "Really? This is not what I want to talk about." But being able to spend time with them, being able to have conversations. Shelby and I drove up and down the road forever when she rodeoed. So we did have a lot of truck time. We talk boys, we talk losing, we talk winning, we talk goals. And so she's always been really goal oriented. And Clay's thing was the winter, where we spent a lot of time with him because he loved the snowmobile. So we spent a lot of windshield time with our kids. But Shalice is really the ground. She's the one, like, you've got to go have that conversation. You've got to go do this. Like, she really keeps me grounded, and she calls me out. I might not like it or want to hear it sometimes, but once I think about it, I'm like, dang it, she's right again. I've got to go do that talk. And so I'm very proud of Shelby and Clay of what they've accomplished. I've learned that I've got to be better at telling them that, because, I'm always on to, I don't want to say that you're always like, you can do better. You can do better. I'm not that. I just don't take enough time to celebrate with them. And Shelby and I this is a lesson for all of you parents. And this is a lesson that I learned. So when Shelby would do really good, like naturally out of my mouth, I would say, awesome job. Love you. And over the years, she eventually got to tie how that together. How do you think she tied that together, Chris?
I don't know.
If I win, if I do good, he loves
then
me.
Then you love her, but if not, you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Now
that's powerful.
Is that really what I meant?
No, absolutely not.
But this is how kids take things over time, right? If I don't do good, he's not going to love me. And so fight hard. It creates more pressure. And I'm like, what have I done? Like, I don't care if you win or lose. I don't care. I care that you do your best, or I care that you just didn't just do it for nothing. But sometimes we do. I do. And I love you no matter what. No matter what. And I think once I got that little powerful lesson, which I didn't know was happening until it happened, and then I could fix that, having that open conversation, telling them how proud you are, and not tied to love. Love is the consistent piece. It has been something that, I've really grown on. But both kids are different. How Clay reacts to how Shelby reacts, to their personalities, to how they handle pressures. And then to my wife, like, she'll say, date night, if I pick up the phone, I have to ask for permission. She likes that. And if I don't ask for permission, she'll say, was it really worth it to interrupt our date night for that call? Well, yeah, it was a big deal. It was Chris Welton. But I'm like, no, you're right. It wasn't.
Yeah.
And that has been, I guess, maybe the biggest secret is this. Don't stop learning, and don't stop looking at yourself to see how you could be a better husband, father, or friend.
Yeah.
Because as soon as we think we got it, that's when we don't.
Yep. I agree with that 100%. And just one more question on the family piece. Do they feel like they have to work harder than the average person in the company because dad's the boss. They feel like they have to outperform. And the reason I ask that is because none of my kids ever worked for me, but I used to coach them, and they were really good athletes. But to play shortstop, my daughter had to be like 5 times better than the other kid that wanted to play shortstop, right? And that was part of it because you just had that kind of pressure because I'm the leader of the team. What's that look like? So I'm just curious how they feel about that piece. And here share some of this. Anytime I would call Shelby and we need to get Chris involved, she'd say, let me call Chris. She never once said, I need to call my dad. It was always Chris. It never crossed lines there, which was super impressive.
Okay. I think they have to put up with a lot of crap. Number one, they get judged more than anyone. If they leave the office, why'd they leave the office? If they did this, or if they did that, they get judged. So they're constantly aware of being judged stronger by not me, but the other employees. Mm-hmm. Number two, they know things that are going on in the office that they necessarily probably won't tell me unless it's like they have absolutely at the end have to. They will keep that. Like they're good. They've both learned. They've both been really good at keeping that separate, like being a normal employee. But one time I knew Shelby was slacking off, and I coached Shelby in a call, and where there's 4 of us on the call, and I chew her out, and she fought back a little bit, in a sense, and so I leaned in more, and she started to cry. And not only did I disrupt her and totally handle myself 100% wrong, but I disrupted everyone else that was on that call. So I made everybody else feel weird, unsecure. And it was just like, what have I done? And so I had to go back and repair all of that just because I knew that there was more into Shelby. And so the lesson that I had learned, even though I have high expectations, is timing, patience, delivery of the message. And if I can get better at those 3 things, that the result is it's just a totally different result. But sometimes if I'm not patient, if I'm not thinking about timing, if my delivery message is like over the top too direct, the result stinks.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. But you're right. Naturally, hey, we want the best for our kids and we want them to be the best for them. Shelby's not Chris and Chris is not Shelby, or vice versa for Clay. I have to tell myself that she's different. Does your daughter have picked up a lot of stuff from you? Yes. Did Shelby pick up some things from me? Yes. But they'll never be us, and we can't live our lives through our kids, and our kids can't live their lives through us. And I think that that's something that I always work on it. And I've made mistakes for sure, but I feel like I'm better in that, Chris, and she's better, does she want to be number one? Yeah. And by the way, Shelby doesn't care about money. She cares about winning. So she would rather have you win than her get an extra dollar. And I love that about her. And Clay is the kindest, tons of empathy. Like I'm like, Clay, I wish I was more kind, and I wish I had more empathy. And so does my wife wish I had that too. But I'm like majorly direct. And I'm like, that is just such a cool trait that's going to take you a long way in your career. And being able to recognize that, and also investing in them, finding coaches, finding great people to put them with, other than yourselves, like invest in them. It will come back tenfold.
Agreed. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So any big news coming up? You guys have an event coming up soon? I know you have a boot camp you usually do. Is you're having that this year again?
No, we're doing our big boot camp in 25. Okay. The reason why is that, I want some originators to put some money in their pocket. I think there's some opportunities out there. Aim Fuse is something that we're big into, and that's in New Orleans this year. So we're super excited about that. NAM's doing a great event, and we'll be doing separate different events at both of those in Las Vegas. So both of those are big events. The NBA is something that we're really getting more involved in and being able to do something. So I would say this year is the partner year. We're doing more partner than our own thing. We have some things that we're working on for 25. We have a new jumbo thing that we're really excited about to come out. So, it's just like fighting to find a product that fits us and that is in our wheelhouse is something that we're always looking at. But we're just grinding right now. We every day we look at it. I do the casino report, and at the end of the day, I always write down, did I win or did I lose? And it's been a fun exercise for me to be able to, at the end of the day, wrap up and go, okay, how'd I do? And some days when I write lose on that piece of paper, on the bottom of my calendar is where I write it, man, it's hard. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to change it tomorrow. I'm going to win.
Yeah. But you don't pull any, you are honest with yourself. A lot of people won't write the loss. Oh, well, it was partly cloudy today, like whatever. Like, no, I know you take that very seriously, which is why your people continue to perform at such a high level, and they don't look at the other big wholesalers out there as we can't do what they do or whatever. You guys have your own brand, your own space in the market, and you're continuing to grow with that. So kudos to you on that, man. I'm really honored to say that you're a friend. I wish the circumstances were better, but I will see you this weekend. And dude, thanks for coming on the show today, man. I really appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you. Hey, by the way, it has been fun to watch you grow, to watch you go into developing and doing your own company, to having the book release, to watching your career and like watching it from the sidelines has been really, really fun. And kudos to you because you've done an amazing job, but more importantly, you're making an impact.
Thank you for tuning into the One Hand at a Time podcast. Please make sure you like and share the episode, and we'll see you next time here at the One Hand at a Time podcast. Make it a great day.